Welcome back to Morning Express. It's time for your money. Now, social entrepreneurs do help develop, fund, and implement solutions to social, cultural, or environmental issues. This concept may be applied to a variety of organizations with different sizes, aims, and beliefs. 3 Kenyans are among 11 social entrepreneurs in the continent that are now pitching to investors in a bid to scale up their maternal and child healthcare enterprises. GE trains and exposes social entrepreneurs in maternal healthcare to investors, and one that is sustainable in maternal and child healthcare outcomes in Africa.
Thank you, Robert Wells, for joining us
Pleasure.
Right here on Your Money. And let's start from the term social entrepreneurship. What is that all about?
Well, that's a very interesting term, and social entrepreneurs are really like any other entrepreneur. They're trying to build a business, they're trying to scale the business and make it larger and make it reach and have greater impact. They're trying to make it sustainable and financially sustainable and socially sustainable. But a big difference for a social entrepreneur is that they're building that business with the goal in mind of trying to tackle some of the toughest challenges in society. So they're trying to tackle the challenge of better health, the challenge of cleaner water, the challenge of more reliable energy sources, and so on. And so they're really trying to mirror the goals that you see in, for example, the UN SDGs, and they're trying to use that as the pathway to build a successful business to tackle those goals.
Now, I know that you're involved more in the health sector,
I am.
And social entrepreneurship is definitely bound to grow.
It is.
And just by virtue of the fact that population is growing, I don't know if there's an increase of diseases or it's just awareness. How are social entrepreneurs answering that gap or filling that gap?
So they're answering it in a number of ways. Some of the entrepreneurs have developed new technologies. And in our program here at GE, for example, we have a couple of very interesting technologies that have been developed in universities in the U.S., but then being brought to bear for healthcare challenges here in Africa. Others are coming up with innovative business models, which is to say, ways to more economically provide better health care and do it in a more scalable way. So there are a number of different ways the entrepreneurs are doing this. Some are doing it through a clinic. Some are doing it, as I say, through innovation and technology. Some are doing it through digital. Some are doing it through, actually through energy. For example, entrepreneurs in energy who are creating more reliable energy pathways for clinics in remote areas. So there are any number of ways that entrepreneurship is flourishing in the health space, and then well beyond health, going into the energy space, going into the financial technology space, going into water and power spaces. So there's a great range of activity out there under this banner of social entrepreneurship.
Previously in the health sector, we've had people driven by passion, and they've said it's a calling. Do you think social entrepreneurs are driven by passion, or are they purely driven by the business side of it?
I think it's a combination of both, and I think healthcare writ large is always a combination of both. I mean, healthcare is intrinsically local and intrinsically personal. And social entrepreneurs, what makes them so interesting for us and attractive for us is they're not working from the top down like a big company like GE often does. They're working from the ground up. They're working in their communities, and we're trying to help them scale beyond the communities, to scale regionally, to scale nationally, to scale beyond just the borders of one country. But I do think the answer to your question is that those social entrepreneurs feel a passionate calling to bring better health to more people, but they're using the discipline of the marketplace, they're using the innovative skills of the marketplace to make that happen.
All right. Now, I've also heard the term healthy imagination. What is that all about?
Well, healthy imagination is GE's approach to big, long-term healthcare issues. It's trying to look at the issues in healthcare and think, how do those impact GE over a decade, and how does GE impact them? How does it impact growth for the company, but also how are our customers impacted by it? And so that's really where the term came from. It's a special place in the company where we have been able to incubate programs that look at those long-term issues, and one of those is the impact of social entrepreneurship and social impact investing on healthcare.
Are there some short-term gains that you can quantify that social entrepreneurs are bringing into the health market?
Yes. We have seen, for example, in the entrepreneurs that we have, even here, just one example, in Kenya, a company called Cedars Diagnostics, and the lives that have been saved because they've been able to bring radiology to low-income Kenyan patients. Radiology is still not available to 65% of the population in this country. And that seems somewhat at odds with the economic growth and vitality that you see here. But the reason is that the healthcare system and other parts of the social structure just haven't been able to keep up with the rapid growth of other parts of the economy. So you have a rapidly growing middle class that wants and deserves better health care, and the traditional healthcare system doesn't always have the capacity to do that. So social entrepreneurs are able to step in and work with the government, work with the healthcare system to provide that better quality and better standard of care. And this one company I mentioned, Cedars Diagnostics, is just one example, because they have the statistics to show how many hundreds of lives they've been able to save by having better X-ray and better CAT scan and better MRI facilities to look at patients. They've also been able to save the lives of children who have had previously undiagnosed conditions. And so that's just one example. But all of our entrepreneurs who have been in this program have been really being very careful about the metrics they keep and the impact that they're having, and being able to demonstrate that.
Now, one of the things technology does is that it makes our lives easier, possibly makes some things faster. But one thing that remains, especially here in Africa, a big challenge is the cost. Mm-hmm. How is your health imagination and the social entrepreneurs answering that gap, especially bringing down the cost to make it affordable to the money?
That's a great question, and it's really one of the things at the core of the program. We recognized early on that the best medical care is not the best medical care if it's not affordable.
Right.
And so one of the reasons that we wanted to develop this program in social entrepreneurship is social entrepreneurs, as I said earlier, are really working from the ground up. They're working in very realistic settings to provide better health. And part of that has to be better health that's affordable, or it just doesn't happen. And so we realized that by working through the entrepreneurs and by developing partnerships with them, we're actually helping to develop more cost-reasonable approaches to healthcare. The Cedars Diagnostic example is a very good one, because there's a company that's providing radiology and X-ray to patients who could not have afforded it before. And they're doing it because of the structure of their business and the way they've set it up so that they can be more cost-effective.
All right. Now, I know one of the areas that you also concentrate on is mother and child. Mm-hmm. And what steps, first of all, what are the observations you've made so far as regards the challenges that we have?
Okay. So, in general, a great deal of progress has been made in improving the condition of infant mortality and maternal mortality. Over the last 15 years, the world has seen about a 45% drop in infant and maternal mortality. Now, that's the good news. The bad news is that still 850 women a day die in childbirth around the world, and the disproportionate amount of them are from emerging market countries like Kenya. And the disproportionate amount of them are from more rural areas where they don't have access to quality health care. So you look at that and you say, well, that's a pretty simple equation. There's an access issue, there's an affordability issue, there's a quality issue. That's all very true. What's less obvious is what you do about that. And that's why we launched this program in maternal and child care. We specifically started in the maternal and child context because it's an area where GE had a great deal of experience already through our GE healthcare business. And we sought to marry that experience and that technology with the social entrepreneurs who are trying to make it more available, more accessible, higher quality, more affordable on the ground.
All right, and progress so far?
Progress so far has been good. I mean, you can look at progress in a couple of different ways. Right. One is you can say, how about the entrepreneurs themselves? How have they done? And they've done really well. One of the things that we look at is what kinds of investment these entrepreneurs get after they leave our program. And they can get investment in the form of grants. They can get investment in the form of debt. They can get investment in the form of investment from venture capitalists who specialize in social impact areas. And those metrics have been really strong. For example, in the current class that we have of entrepreneurs, since going into the program, they've attracted about $1.6 million in additional investment. And that may not sound like a whole lot in the U.S. context, but in the sub-Saharan African context, that's a very significant amount for them to grow and scale their businesses. But ultimately, what we really look for, the ultimate measurement of impact, is the quality of life. Is it getting better? Are we saving more mothers and saving more babies? Are we enabling them to lead healthier lives? And the program is only 2 years old, so it's a little difficult to track statistics at this point, but the anecdotal evidence we have from the entrepreneurs is very strong that we're making an impact.
Now, we tend to concentrate more on the urban than the rural, and you'd find that possibly the bigger challenge is actually in the rural area,
Yes.
especially with mother and child. Any plans possibly to go into the rural areas, and have you already started?
Oh, we've already been doing it. Our entrepreneurs in both of the classes we've had have a heavy rural presence. Some of them working in areas that it may not seem like far on a map, but it takes them hours to drive there because of the conditions of the infrastructure in various countries. And so it's always been part of our belief that, this is not really a program about equitable health care unless it's working in both urban and rural areas, and our entrepreneurs very much exemplify that.
All right, and do you have solutions specifically for Africa? One of the challenges that you'll find now that you mentioned infrastructure, for instance, is some areas may not have electricity.
That's right.
Whereas some of the machinery would require.
That's exactly right.
So how do you answer that?
And that's why in this current cohort of entrepreneurs, for example, we have a company called the Liberian Energy Network. And Liberia is one of the least energy available countries in Africa. The statistics are just astounding of how little of Liberia has power. Of course, we know that repeats itself in many other countries in Africa as well. So what they do is they provide a solar energy source to bring energy directly to healthcare clinics, and then they're able to take the excess capacity that they generate and sell that in a microgrid to bring power to the community as well. And it's an interesting question, because what it really says to me is there is not just a silo of healthcare issues, and there is a silo of energy issues and a silo of water and power issues. All of these things intermingle with one another. And so as we look at this program and we seek to develop it out, we're trying to find more cross-disciplinary approaches to entrepreneurship. So it's not just about health or just about energy. It's really about how all of these social needs come together.
All right. For entrepreneurship to be successful and sustainable over the long term, mentorship is required, and it's crucial. Do you have mentorship?
Absolutely. That's what the whole program we do at the Miller Center is. So our partner in this program is an organization called Miller Center for Social Entrepreneurship. They're headquartered at Santa Clara University in the heart of Silicon Valley. So what we do at this program is we have the entrepreneurs from sub-Saharan Africa, but they are paired with mentors from Silicon Valley. So they essentially learn that ethos of how to build and scale a business from the people who are at the most successful place in the world in doing that. So we think mentorship is essential. We couldn't do this program without mentorship. It was our view from the beginning to have mentorship as a important component. But there's a second piece of mentorship, which we're all very proud of at GE, because the company itself has a whole level of mentorship that they've brought into the program as well. Now you might say, GE's this very big company, and these entrepreneurs are working in these villages. Isn't there a mismatch? But we found actually not. Actually, there are a lot of skill sets that this 100-year-old big company can import here for the entrepreneurs. Everything from supply chain management to human relations management to legal to marketing that are very relevant to the entrepreneurs. So in essence, we have two levels of mentorship, one from the mentors in Silicon Valley and another from the executives in GE.
All right, we've talked about affordability and accessibility. What about quality?
Well, quality, I think, is essential, and we by no means would advocate, and in fact, we strongly believe that the quality of healthcare here should be on par with anywhere else. The question, as you raised earlier, is the economics and the logistics of how you do that. But that's what makes our entrepreneurs so exciting. I mean, they're trying to do exactly that, to bring the same quality of care that patients in any other part of the world would experience, but to do so in what can be a challenging conditions here. And so, you know, that's not to us. That's not really a balance. We have to start with quality and then figure out ways to bring that quality of care here to Africa. It's not about shortchanging it. It's about bringing it into a different setting and making it work in that setting. But these entrepreneurs, that's what they're all about. And when you see what some of them are doing and have done, it's really quite inspirational, because they are as passionate about their patients and giving the same quality of care that any other physician in Europe or the United States or anywhere else would have about their patients.
All right, and what would you say is the impact of technology on now having affordable, accessible, and quality health care so far?
I think it's been a net positive. I mean, there's no question about it. The challenge with technology kind of goes back to your previous question, was how do you make it so that it's available in a range of countries, not just in the very upper tier incomes. But, you know, this again is why I think the entrepreneurs, they come in with the mindset of that's their challenge, is to do that. They don't want to back away from technology. I don't think any of us want to back away from better standards of technology, you know, in whatever field we're in. But there is a reality that sometimes that technology has a cost differential that you have to factor in, and you have to figure a way around it so that it's available to more people. But ultimately, if you don't do that, it's not good business, because the market is here. Before we began this interview, you asked me how I felt about being in Kenya, and I said I love it, because one of the things that just always hits me from the minute I get off the plane is the energy in this place, and the inventiveness and the innovation here. And you know, you give a Kenyan any kind of a challenge, and they will always figure out either how to do it or how to work around it. Right. And I think that's what our entrepreneurship program is all about. It's about harnessing that so that we can make technology, take all of its good aspects, and then bring it here in a context that's realistic.
What advice would you give to somebody who possibly would want to venture into this kind of social entrepreneurship? Where do they start? What do they look out for?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's a wonderful question. And these entrepreneurs are so diverse. I mean, here in this program, we have, in this current class, we have 11 entrepreneurs from about as many countries in sub-Saharan Africa, and in our previous class, we had the same. And if you were to meet them, their diversity is even more apparent. I mean, their diversity in age, their diversity in race, their diversity in gender, their diversity in geographies of where they're from. But what tends to bring them all together is a passion, and this sounds, I know, a bit trite to say passion to make the world a better place, but it's absolutely right. And the reason that they I think the common thing that they all share is they see working to build a business as a way to do that, and to use the discipline of the marketplace and to build a business with a return to do that. And I think they all tend to start with one challenge that they see. You know, they say people can't get X-rays in Kenya. People can't get different kinds of oncology treatment in another country. People can't get access to affordable care in another setting. So they tend to begin with that one problem that they've identified, but then they have this sort of overriding passion that says to them, I won't take no for an answer. And I think that's what separates them. I really do. I mean, I know other entrepreneurs who sometimes say in sort of the regular business world, well, that's just too hard. The economics aren't right. The market wasn't right. But these people just don't take no for an answer. They will figure a way to do it.
Where do you see the future of social entrepreneurship, especially in the health sector?
I see it being a bigger and bigger part of it. I mean, I just watching it unfold here. I think the traditional healthcare markets are, if I speak of the U.S. or I speak of Western Europe, they're expensive, they're very bureaucratic, they're sometimes very difficult to work through. But again, these entrepreneurs aren't starting at the top and working down, they're starting at the ground and working up. And for that reason, I think they address a seminal need in healthcare, which is how to get more innovation into healthcare, both the technologies themselves, but also the way they're delivered to patients.
All right. Your closing remarks, and possibly also let us know if you've discovered a Kenyan dish that you love.
Well, I'm a big fan of. I mean, I don't know what the name of the. I'm gonna tell you this.
You can describe it.
I describe it. It's lamb, and it's got rice, and it's got all these wonderful vegetables in it, and they make it at the hotel, and damn, it's good. And it's one of my favorites. And I love all the fresh fruit and vegetables here. I know it's not a Kenyan dish, but some of the best orange juice I've ever had comes from Kenya. They make it fresh in the hotel every morning. I love it.
Well, Robert Wells, it's been a pleasure having you on
Same
Morning
here.
Express. Thank you for joining.